There are a lot of videos out there on YouTube, even on our Confident Real Estate channel, that show you everything you need to know about how to invest in real estate, whether it be creative financing or how to make an offer or what you need to look for and how to target a location where you should be buying a property. But there aren't as many videos that show you a real concise step-by-step process of how all these puzzle pieces fit together. In this video, that's exactly what I'm going to try to do for you. I'm going to give you a concise step-by-step process on how to buy a property, whether your primary residence or an investment property, and which steps you need to make first, all the way through the end when you buy and own the property, and if you're renting it, how to rent it. I want to make sure you understand what comes first, second, third, etc., so that you don't get confused and lost in the process and you have a general map or guideline of what to expect and how this really works in the real world. So stick with me all the way to the end, and I will show you the step-by-step process to buying real estate. Welcome back once again to Confident Real Estate. I'm your host, JC. I promise we're going to make this as smooth and concise as we possibly can so that you really don't get lost in the nitty-gritty of any particular aspect of a real estate deal. There are tons of videos on YouTube, especially on our channel here, Confident Real Estate, that will show you the details of each aspect of what we're going to cover. But I want to make sure you have a general roadmap to follow so when you go out to buy a property, you know what steps you should be taking and when to take them. The first step we're going to do is have you hit that like button down below because, again, it helps feed the YouTube algorithm. And, of course, hit subscribe if you're not a member of our Confident Real Estate family. Okay, but the first step you really need to take when it comes to buying a property is getting pre-approved. You want to go speak to a number of lenders, but do not let them pull your credit. If your credit gets pulled more than once, I believe it's in a 45-day period, it's going to ding your credit score. So give them a soft understanding, but a realistic one of what your assets are. Tell them, in my checking account, I have X amount of dollars. In savings, I have X amount of dollars. I have this in a 401k. I make this much money. Run the numbers. It's a pre-approval. It's not a final commitment to give you a loan. It's just a pre-approval letter, and it gives you an understanding, an idea of how much house you can afford to buy, whether, again, for yourself and your family or as an investment property. And it'll give you an understanding of what you need to put down in cash, which is going to be determined, again, whether you're house hacking, where you're buying a house with multiple units, where you're going to live in one as your primary residence and rent out the others, whether you're just buying a single family home for yourself and your family, or you're buying an investment property that you're not even going to live in, which typically requires at least a 20 to 25% down payment. You need to understand your finances. You need to speak with a few banks, bigger banks, local banks. Just go out there. Go to lendingtree.com, start talking to brokers in your area that you want to buy in and see who they recommend. Get some names and numbers. I promise you, brokers have plenty of mortgage contacts that will try to get you a loan. But don't let them pull your credit. Just get a soft understanding of what you can afford and get that pre-approval letter so that you know what you should be looking for. And when you go out there and you start making offers, brokers and sellers understand that you've already taken that very important step and you're not wasting their time because you know, and banks have told you, what you can actually afford to buy. Step number 2 is where to buy. You have to know where you want to buy. If you're planning to live in the place, then you probably know the area you generally want to live in. Now you've already done the pre-approval process, you have an understanding of whether or not you can actually afford to live there. So if you're buying for your primary residence, you know where you want to buy. But if you're buying for an investment property, you may have an idea about several areas you want to buy in the general vicinity of some area probably near where you live or you're familiar with. Maybe you work in that area. Fine. Just make sure you understand the dynamics of the area. Is it the right place to buy? Is there access to good schools, transportation, employment opportunities? Are there employment growth and job growth that has been consistent over the last several years and shows no sign of diminishing over the next several years to come? These are kind of the major factors that you should be looking at. And if you want a video that really breaks it down for you about how to determine whether or not where you're looking is the right place for you to be investing, I'll leave the link down below because I did an entire video about that a while back, and a lot of people have found it very useful. So it comes from my own personal experience. I'll leave the link down below and you can look into that. But you really need to understand where you're going to buy and for what reason you're buying. Buying for yourself and your family to live in an area that you love and you want to raise your kids in is very different than buying an investment property, which is really not emotional at all and is purely an investment. Step 3 is the action step, and this for some reason is the hardest hurdle for a lot of people to overcome. They get stuck in the analysis paralysis and they don't want to go out there and take action and make what they've been dreaming about become a little bit more real, a little bit more reality. But that is such an important step. You have to get out there. You have to start going to open houses. Once you determine where you want to buy or where you're interested in buying, you got to talk to brokers. You got to start joining some real estate investment groups or meetups in the area. Start networking with people, because I'll tell you, it is amazing just going out there and speaking to people. You don't have to become their best friends, but just being out and present on a every week or a couple of weeks basis, people seeing your face at different open houses and understanding the types of real estate you're looking for. You'll see the brokers who are really aggressive and serious and can get you the deals that you're looking for. You'll line up with some of them. You'll meet some other investors that you'll see out there. Trust me, and deals will start finding you. You'll see what is a good deal and what's a bad deal because you've been out there seeing all the deals. You've been taking action, and then you'll find certain people that you'll meet who will say, hey, you may be interested in this deal that's about to be listed, hasn't even hit the market, come take a look at it. These are how you start to acquire the connections that will eventually lead you to the best deals, which are off-market deals. Trust me, you have to take action. There's no way around it. If you want to be successful in real estate investing or finding the most amazing property for you and your family, you have to take action and get out there and be involved in the real estate community in the area you want to buy. Now you've gone out there, you've networked, you've seen the open houses, and you found the property. This is the absolute best property for you to use as an investment or to buy and move your family into, to have that life you always dreamed of, right? So you have to make an offer. Now, either you're going to make the offer directly to the seller's broker, or perhaps along the way you've picked up a solid broker who knows the area well and is well connected, and they're representing you as your buyer's broker. They're finding properties for you to bring you to so you can go and find the property that best fits what you're looking for. Again, whether it's for your family or an investment. The brokers don't cost you anything. I want to make that clear. Sellers pay the brokers. Sellers have a broker who lists their property and does the open houses and markets it. And if you have a broker that comes along and introduces you to the seller's broker and brings you in as the buyer, then that seller's broker will split the commission with the buyer's broker. But the seller is paying the broker. It's not going to cost you anything. So there really is no hesitation for you to go find yourself a great broker to help you find the property that's going to best work for what your situation is. Now, have your broker make the offer to the seller's broker in writing, but it's going to be comprised of what you're going to pay, how much money you're going to put down as a down payment, and anything you want as part of the deal, whether it be light fixtures, appliances like the washer and dryer. Especially if you're buying a multifamily property, you want to make sure that all the appliances are included. Any beautiful light fixture in the entryway of the building, maybe. Something like that you really like, put it in the offer. See what the seller says. They may be willing to leave it because it's a real headache for them to take it out of the ceiling in the first place. Let it stay there. Put it in the offer. Make sure it's what you're expecting. But you're also going to put in your contingencies. If you're expecting to get a mortgage because you don't have the cash to just buy this property and write a check and buy the property in total for cash, you're going to need a mortgage, then you must have a mortgage contingency in your offer. And always, always, always have an inspection contingency. Because as beautiful as the property may look, or as dated as it may look, and you expect to do some renovations, what you cannot see is going to cost you more than what you can see. What's behind the walls and above you on the roof are the most costly surprises that you do not want to find out about after you bought the property. You have to do an inspection, and a thorough one at that. You want to look at the age and structure of the roof. You want to look at the mechanicals. You want to make sure that the plumbing and electricity is up to code. You will get a house inspection done, and they will come around, your inspector, and they will test all the light sockets, all the electrical sockets, and they will make sure that everything works, that it's up to code, that there's no lead pipes, that it's copper plumbing, that it's up to standards for electrical, so that you're not going to risk having a fire behind the wall down the road. You gotta have inspections, so don't ever waive those. Put those in your offer. Mortgage inspection, house inspection, maybe a radon, termite inspections, whatever you want to do, put it in your offer, along with whatever you expect to have come back to you for the purchase price that you're paying. Appliances, light fixtures, etc. And again, how much you're offering and what your down payment is going to be. And that's very important too, because a lot of people may be coming in to buy a multifamily property with the expectation that they're going to house hack and live in one unit and rent out the others. And in that situation, they're not putting 20-25% down. They may be putting 3.5 to 5% down, taking out an FHA loan. If you come in and you're going to put 20-25% down, even if your monetary offer, even if, let's say, you're offering $500,000 and the other guy's offering $525,000, that $25,000, as enticing as it may be, depending on the market and the strength of that other purchaser, they may accept your lower offer because you're putting 20 to 25% down and you have the ability to close more likely than somebody who's only able to put 3.5% down, and it's a stretch for them at that. So, keep that in mind and make sure it's all in your written offer, because you want to make sure that you and the seller are on the same page on day one. It will make your contract experience and negotiation go much smoother, which will cost you less in legal fees, and really it'll eliminate a lot of animosity that can grow if there's miscommunication right off the bat. So, step 4, making an offer. Very important step. Step 5, I think it's pretty obvious at this point. You made an offer, the other side accepted it, but in case you weren't aware, you need to actually go into contract on the property. So you're going to negotiate the terms of the contract. And again, if you have a very fleshed out offer that shows everything you're expecting to get in return for the purchase price, the contract negotiation really isn't going to be that difficult, especially on a residential. Commercial real estate's a little bit different, but on a residential property, it's going to be pretty straightforward. Make sure you hire a actual real estate attorney. Please, I know sometimes in certain areas it's hard to find someone who only focuses on real estate, but just make sure they have a great reputation for doing a lot of residential or commercial real estate deals. Not somebody like the situation I currently find myself in, where me as a real estate attorney, I'm representing myself buying a property, and the attorney on the other side is a personal injury lawyer who also writes wills and does some limited trust and estates work. And for some reason, he's representing the seller of the property I'm buying in this residential real estate transaction for a multifamily property. He has no clue what he's doing, and it has been painful. If I wasn't my own attorney, I would have racked up a fortune in legal fees because I've had to basically hold his hand the entire way through the transaction. So just please get yourself a qualified real estate attorney to represent you in any real estate negotiation you do. And if you find a good one, hold on to them, because down the road, if you're doing more deals, you want to make sure you have that relationship intact. So, that next step, step 5, is negotiating the contract, signing on the dotted line, and now the real fun begins, because now you're under the gun on the clock to get every inspection and mortgage approval that you need to have done in a tight time frame so you can close. It's a little bit stressful, but it all works out in the end, I promise you. Number 6, you're doing your inspections, you're doing your survey. Again, I already covered the inspections that you need to do with regard to the property, making sure there's no lead pipes, that the plumbing and electrical is up to code, check out the mechanicals, make sure there's nothing broken, check the window fixtures, the steps, anything that's broken. You can potentially go back to the seller and say, hey, you need to either fix this before we close or give me a credit against the purchase price. So at closing, if I owe you $500,000, you're going to give me a credit for $2,000 back. I'm really only going to pay you $498 because $2,000 worth of work needs to be done as soon as I buy the property, and you're going to give me the credit for it now. Or you're going to do the work satisfactorily before I even close and buy the property. Depends on what the issues may be that come up. Or you may find something that's a major issue, like the roof is rotting over their heads. You don't want to take that on. If the seller isn't willing to take that on themselves and actually fix the roof, then you may want to walk away from the property. And because you've negotiated in your offer this inspection contingency, you will be able to get all of your down payment back and just live to fight another day and go find another property. Much better than closing on a deal and the roof caves in over your head. Things like that are rare, but they do happen. So go through the inspection process. You're going to get title insurance. Your lawyer will probably have a title insurance company they recommend to you. Make sure you go through the policy, the title report commitment with your lawyer thoroughly. Don't just take their word for it. Understand what you're buying and what is going to be accepted from your title insurance policy, so it's not a surprise to you down the road. And make sure that any violations or liens against the owners of the property that are selling it to you that may be attached to the property get paid at closing. And of course, do a survey. I know a lot of this sounds very confusing, but trust me, it's not that bad. If you take this step by step, it's going to be very easy to follow along. But you got to do a survey because you want to make sure if, let's say, the property has a huge backyard, that backyard is actually your property and not that part of it is owned by the township. I've seen that where people have bought a big property with a huge wooded lot, and then they come to find out that wooded lot behind their house, they only own the first 5 feet of it. Beyond that, it's owned by the town. And I actually know someone who had this happen to them, where the town came in, knocked the trees down, and because the population was growing in that area, they made a road that ran right behind their house. And they had to put a fence up, but now there's a traffic running along the back side of their property just on the other side of that fence. You think that doesn't hurt property values? I promise you it does. So get your survey done, get your title inspection done, do your home inspection, and do whatever your mortgage bank needs that pre-approved you to make sure you can clear to close. And if you have any issues, you've put in these contingencies and you get to walk away from the deal if it doesn't work out and get your money back. But those are things you'll negotiate with your lawyer and your broker with the other side. Rest assured, it's a little stressful, this part, but it's not the end of the world and you will get through it, I promise. 7, you're done. Everything worked out. The inspections are done. Everybody has agreed on everything regarding credits. Your mortgage bank has cleared you to close. Title looks good. Survey looks good. Inspection was great. Wonderful. You go to the closing table. You close. They give you the keys. You give them the money. Now you own the property, and you want to make sure it's delivered free and clear of any tenants and that it's vacant unless there's tenants that already live there that are paying you rent, and that was what you were expecting. But you want to be able to give them the money, get the keys, and walk right in the door. Before you close, you'll do what's called a walkthrough inspection the morning of your closing, just to make sure everything has been removed, that there's no junk from the seller still there. If there are, you'll want to go to the closing table and say, hey, I'm going to need a credit for X amount of dollars to get a dumpster in here and remove everything you didn't move because you didn't leave it in broom clean condition like the contract required. And you go to the closing table, it's done, you close, and now you are the proud owner of a piece of real estate. Either it's a home for your family or it's an investment property, and you are continuing or starting, if it's your first, to build your real estate portfolio. So pat yourself on the back because you made it through the whole process and you're doing it. You are actually doing what the majority of people who watch these videos on YouTube talk about doing, but never actually do. You gotta take the action, guys. And if you're one of those people who keeps talking about it, I promise you, it is not as intimidating as you are making it out to be in your head. Just go out and take the action to do it. Now, you own the property. That's step 7. We've got to move on to step 8 before you can actually rent it. If you were buying the property for your own family use, then you've closed. Do the renovations you need to do. Move your family in. God bless. Enjoy. Live long, happy life there, and I hope it increases tremendously in equity value during your time there. Now, if you're buying the property for an investment, there may be things you need to do cosmetically or some major renovations that you had planned in order to rent those other units. You want to have that lined up as soon as you know that the inspections are done and title search and survey are done and everything looked good and your bank tells you you're going to be cleared to close. We just got to go through final underwriting. At that point, you should have everything lining up. You should have your contractors already having walked the property, giving you their estimates. You can now enter into the contracts with them that are contingent on you actually closing and buying the property. You can start getting the permits that you need to get if you need to get any of those, or if it's more simple work, buying the paints, buying the tools that you'll need, the spackling, the paint, the basic plumbing stuff that you might want to change some fixtures, changing the locks on all of the doors because other people may have keys that you've never met before that the seller's never collected back from them. Change the locks on your doors on day 1. Trust me. I know somebody, thankfully it wasn't me, who bought an investment property, didn't change the locks, and then suddenly found themselves with a squatter situation because a cousin of the seller had the keys to the property and didn't know they were selling it, and he moved back in and was planning to stay. He was like the deadbeat who was planning to stay with them and had a habit of doing that when he thought they were out of town. And they had sold the property and this guy had a real problem getting the guy out. Don't find yourself in that situation. On day 1, you need to at least change the locks. But have it all lined up. Know what you're planning to do. Have the tools in place, the contractors in place, the materials purchased and ready to go so that as soon as you close, you can go pick those up, pay for those materials, get them in the property, and do the renovations. It's all about quick turnaround. You are now sitting there with carrying costs. Insurance, real estate taxes, mortgage payments, they must be paid whether you're renting the property or not. You are going to be obligated to make those payments every single month. So turn it around as quickly as you can. It's not a house flip, but it feels like one. And get it done and take professional pictures of your finished product and then get them on the websites that you need to do in order to get the place rented. You want to do it very quickly. In fact, the property that I'm about to close on, I already have professional photos from when they just tried to sell it. I'm taking those photos. I'm taking other photos from when they tried to rent certain units at the property in the past, and I'm getting some other photos done on day 1. They're going to be taking the photos the day I close. We're closing in the morning. We're going to do a walkthrough, close the property. They're going to come in and take the photos. I already scheduled them while I'm changing the locks. The photographer will be taking the professional photos, and we will be able to rent those units that don't really require any major work. And then we'll do the major work in the other units and then take those pictures and put them on the market as well. Don't waste time. As they say, time is money. I hope you found this helpful. It was just 8 steps from getting pre-approved and knowing what you can actually afford to closing and renovating and renting out your units. It's a simple 8 steps. Don't let it overwhelm you. Always think of this. There are literally thousands, tens of thousands of rental property owners in this country who didn't know a thing about real estate when they started. And they're all doing it and making money doing it. You can too. You just have to get over the fears that you built up in your head because you will survive it, and get out there and do it. And if you have questions, absolutely hit me up in the comments or contact me through my Instagram. I'll leave the link to that down below, or through the YouTube contact us section on my homepage. I absolutely am here to help you. I hope you get something out of this. If you did, hit that like button. And of course, subscribe, and become a member of this Confident Real Estate family, because I really want it to be beneficial for all of us to share information and get the most out of it. As always, I appreciate you watching to the end. Until next time.